that I am going to give you some wrong in this situation. And the wrong that I am going to give you, Madam Political Leader, is that you should have written to Moody long before, when you realize that Rowley and Stuart Young and Terence Dial Singh was setting up the citizens of this country to die. If it's any wrong to give you, that is the wrong I will give you. And Madam Political Leader, I am asking you to send a follow-up letter to the Prime Minister of India. Send a follow-up letter and let us work together to save the lives of people within our country, something that the PNM continue to fail to do. People in this country in serious, you know. People in this country in serious. We are in the center of a pandemic. We have a government that continue to flip-flop and flip all over. And to date, they continue to lie. Vaccine coming, 100,000, 40,000, 60,000, 80,000, all kind of thousand coming. And today, they cannot produce one single vaccine to save this country. We get, I believe, 20,000 vaccine as a gift from Barbados. 2,000 vaccine. You know that even the health minister make a mess of that. I hear that Rowley and the minister said that they were fighting for first and second to take the vaccine when it restriction it had. But I want to ask the Prime Minister tonight, the kind of controversy and racial statements that are now being made in relation to the vaccine. I want to ask the Prime Minister that if he believe when he take a vaccine that come from India, if he afraid he becomes a Douglas. I don't know if he afraid to become a Douglas. Because the way he's talking is as though the vaccine that come from India, as though it have Indian genes in it. So he probably afraid that if we get vaccine from India, that Trinidad and Tobago, the African people, would become Douglas and he would not be able to fool them anymore. But Rowley Edward afraid that. Because you and Gary Kutu, we are not here on we head. So you don't have to worry about becoming a Douglas. And if even you get the vaccine and Douglas here start to come out your head, you could do like some of my good friends in the studio and buy a weave. You could buy a Frizzle puff and put on your head. That is what you could do, because I don't know that since when vaccine, I want to tell you something, Mr. Prime Minister, if you do not understand the logistics in this whole scenario, India is responsible for over 20% of all pharmaceutical drugs in the world. Over 20%. They supply 40% of America drugs to them. And I ain't talking about the drugs that your partner, Hugo Chavez, partner, Maduro, is indicted for in the US. I ain't talking about that kind. I'm talking about pharmaceutical stuff. And I now understand why you could afford to fool the people in Trinidad and Tobago and tell them that Delcy Rodriguez and a whole contingent of PDVSA officials came to the diplomatic center to talk about COVID-19. I understand why. I also understand why that you're looking towards China for vaccine, because China and Russia and Venezuela, they are your partners. They are the ones that you trusted in. And you, Mr. Prime Minister, you must be held accountable for the negligence in this whole vaccine fiasco in this country. Kamla Prasad Bisesa is the opposition leader. What are the roles and responsibilities of the opposition leader? The opposition leader is not only there to examine your policies and bills that become before Parliament. The opposition leader is not only there to appoint senators. The opposition leader also appoints shadow ministers in every aspect. And the opposition leader herself is also the shadow prime minister of this country. And the opposition leader responsibility is not to your so-called protocols. The opposition responsibility in this country is not to adhere to your failures. The opposition leader in this country is to look and to secure every aspect of Trinidad and Tobago, including its citizens. The opposition leader has a responsibility to the people first before the Parliament. The opposition leader responsibility is to the people before your protocols. Because all the protocols that exist, whereby you as the Prime Minister should have, and as the chair of CARICOM, you should have been the one that given donations, given vaccine as donation. But because of your failure, because of your mismanagement, and because I now close to go to court, so I won't say the last one. But because of all of that, Mr. Prime Minister, it is why the opposition leader had to take the responsibility. The voting population give Ms. Prasad Bisesa a responsibility, and she had to exercise that responsibility in trying to secure vaccine to save Trinidad and Tobago, something that you and your cabinet and your ministers have failed to do. So, in a whole nutshell, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, I, Victor Alexander Roberts, would have watched my political leader different if she did not take the responsibility that you, Rowley, failed, that you had at your disposal and failed to activate. If she didn't take that responsibility and write to the Prime Minister of India, who have given donations to so many countries, give me some of the countries that the donation was given. I think I have it somewhere here because I don't remember all. Check somewhere here, check somewhere here. Go find them countries, I have them listed down there on this paper, right? The next one. You will find all the countries that the leader you will find all the countries that you, as the leader of this country, should have been given gifts. And those countries include Antigua, Barbuda, 175,000 doses. St. Kitts Nevis, 20,000 doses. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 40,000 dosage. Suriname, 50,000 dosage. And St. Lucia, 25,000 dosage. This is apart from fellow CARICOM countries like Barbados, 100,000 dosage. Dominica, 70,000 dosage. And Jamaica, 50,000 dosage. You as CARICOM chair should I be showing off and telling them, hey, I'll come down Trinidad, a hot thing here for you.
2 million.
But yet, to the end of the day, you have taken out billions of dollars from the Heritage Fund. Billions upon billions. Stating that you're fighting COVID-19. You all have given the WHO false information. False information to look good. This government lie in every aspect in relation to that COVID-19 spread. And every time they're in trouble, they jump up and say, we have a new wave. We have a new wave. It seems as though that this government know about gel and straightener. So every Monday morning there's a new wave. They're waving going down the road. Or it seems as though Rowley jump up too much for carnival. So he wave out. You can't tell me billions of dollars. And today we are without a vaccine in this country and only had the audacity to talk about Kamla Prasad Bisesa writing the India Prime Minister. And on top of that, are they now talking about vaccine apartheid in this country? That's what they're talking now. So everything is race. Or they introduce race, the PNM government introduced race in everything. And on top of it, are they introducing race in vaccine now? How wicked this government could be. What all they have against Indians so? I can understand. Because if you look at the PNM government, this government failed in every aspect. And I am yet to understand some of my African people. I am yet to understand some of my African people. It seems as though that they cannot see further than the big toe. Because how you can have a government that playing with your life, playing with the life of your children, playing with the life of your grandchildren, playing with the life of your cherished grandparents. And yet to the end of the day, anything that the PNM Prime Minister shoved down on their throat, or they're drinking it like good milk. I see the cabinet ministers, any lollipop you put in them out the socket. Any lollipop, any flavor. Once you get them a lollipop, they're digesting that. I can understand what's going on in this country. I watch this cabinet and I see, and I want to commend the waterman. I want to commend Lee Hunt here this evening. I want to commend Lee Hunt here this evening. You know why? When Lee Hunt saw that things wasn't going in the interests of the people of this country, Lee Hunt resigned. Lee Hunt, I want to give you a round of applause because it shows that you are a man with testicular fortitudes. Plenty of them in the cabinet. You could refer to them as shim. That is what they are, shim. And if you don't know what is a shim, go out on the block and ask the youth men them, what is a shim? And they will tell you what is a shim. Plenty of these ministers, that is what they are shim. That is what they are, shim. You know why they are ashamed? They have no fortitude. They have nothing. And I ain't going down that road, but they have nothing. And if they know what's good for them, they better check and see what they have if it's their own. Because I never see a bunch of weak men, a bunch of men in a cabinet. Weak. They can't stand up for nothing. They are seeing where this government heading, and they will never take a stand. They will never take a stand to save Trinidad and Tobago. People of Trinidad and Tobago, if you don't save this country will die. And you know what is sad? You will die with it. The health minister is the worst in the history of that ministry. The health minister, Terence T. Alsing, is the worst. When I tell you it's the worst. Keith Christopher Rowley as Prime Minister, it is the worst. Stuart Young as Minister of National Security, it is the worst. Faris Al-Rawi as the Attorney General, it is the worst. Fitzgerald Hines, yeah. I ain't talking about you. I ain't talking about you. I don't know what's wrong with this bunch of people that we have in cabinet saying that they're looking over the well-being of the people of this country. And the people of this country, let me tell you one time, all you wicked to yourself, plenty all you. Because if all you wasn't wicked to all yourself, all you would have taken a stand against Rowley long time. And let me tell you something. I want to talk to my African people now. African people, let me tell you something today. All you allow the PNM to fool all you long enough. All you allow the PNM to dig out all your eye. Leave all you with one eye. And still ask all you to the end of the day to put all your eggs by the balisay. With one eye. All you allow that. All you allow this PNM government to have all you in bondage. Notice I say we. Have all you in bondage. Watch all your communities. Watch all your roads. Watch all your water system. Watch all your health system. Watch every aspect in this country and see what all you allow to happen to all you as African people. The same man who every time he talk, he want to introduce race in everything. That same man have all you living in the pits of hell. And yet, to the end of the day, while all you down in the pit of hell, he's still taking calls and telling all you, cool all your tongue with that. And some of you wicked to yourself, all you still saying great is that PNM. That PNM party ain't care about all you. If that PNM party did care about all you, ladies and gentlemen, all you would have been better standing. By now the economy would have been ready to open up. But to the end of the day, they crashed the economy before COVID-19. And now they are allowing the pandemic to fool all you, for all you to believe that all the decisions that they took had to be taken in order to save all you from this pandemic. How foolish could you all be? Ladies and gentlemen, give me a time check.
15 minutes.
Right, good.
15.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you something else today. When you hear the Prime Minister spoke And he said that the reason that they didn't engage India is because of the WHO approval. I want all you to know that since in 2020, when the Prime Minister was talking to China, China didn't and still don't have WHO approval. Listen good. Still didn't have and still don't have WHO approval in 2020. What alternative reason could the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago have in his mind if he had cared about you, the population? What reason would the Prime Minister have within his mind not to approach any and every country that manufacture vaccine? We reason now, we reasoning. If I was the Prime Minister, a situation like this, I would be pressing every diplomatic channel to locate vaccines for my people. If they say they're making vaccine in Russia, I was touching them too. If they say they're making vaccine in the new country they call OEOHO, I was checking them too. But what alternative motive could the Prime Minister of this country have why he did not go to the Indians? Yes, go to the Indians to look for vaccine. Well, I'm going to tell you. The alternative to that is you must cipher it out for yourself. You must look into that for yourself, because if India, who supplies more than 20% of vaccine to the world, it comes as though India is the biggest drugstore. As a matter of fact, India will be the world drugstore. So if India is the world drugstore, then the first place I will be looking is to the Indians for refuge. But Prime Minister Rowley, I will wait until you pass, and I will pay any money. I will pay any kind of money that I have, if I have, to come and witness that autopsy, simply to see what kind of heart you have as a Prime Minister for Trinidad and Tobago. I will pay to see that. Because if a Prime Minister have a caring heart, if a Prime Minister have a loving heart for its people, a Prime Minister will go out of his way. He will lay down his life to ensure that he save his country. So don't you ever dare, Mr. Prime Minister Rowley, talk any form of patriot talk with Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Don't ever talk that talk at all, ever again. Because if you was a true patriot of this country, you, Mr. Prime Minister, would have gone length, breadth, put away creed, color, religion, race, ethnicity, whatever, to ensure that your country get vaccine to save itself from this pandemic that is crushing the world. Mark did his part. He had a pandemic walk. from San Fernando to Port of Spain. He walk, sanitize. Moko Jumbi walk a mile and a half and they sanitize. So my partner here do his part. If my partner, who is a layman, who is the owner of a community base, Calypso tent, that some of your ministers stifle.
Yes.
For years, stifle them.
Yeah.
If he could do his part and lead a walk from Sando to Queen's Park, Savannah, you as the Prime Minister with taxpayers' money, eating taxpayers' bread, the clothes that you wear is we buy it for you. The car that you're driving is weaker. The nice restaurants that you're going in belongs to we.
Yes, man.
The Heritage and Civilization Fund that you're dipping in, that is we money.
Yes,
and to the end of the day, you're enjoying we books with a 50,000 plus salary of we money per month. And to the end of the day, you, Keith Rowley, you, Prime Minister, have your country without a vaccine simply because you, as the Prime Minister, you have failed.
Uncaring.
You're uncaring.
Yes.
Give me some more words. You're unloving. You, Prime Minister, give me one.
And money hungry.
Well, I might get sued for that one. You, Prime Minister, you have your country, Prime Minister, we minding you and your family. You're living in we house. The diplomatic center is Chanel on.
Yes, that's right.
Omar on.
That's right.
Sion. Chantel.
Yes.
Mother.
Yes.
That is them house, you living in it.
That's right.
And you living with all the comfort.
See?
To adjudicate. And if you can't do the job, it's we to remove you.
Almighty God, most beneficent and merciful, the embodiment of knowledge and light, we give you thanks and praise. Let your will be done here in our nation, as it is in heaven. Please bless our political leader, party officials, activists, and all people of Trinidad and Tobago. Give us the grace and courage to always do what is good in your sight. And protect us as we stand against injustice and inequity. Guide us, O Lord, as we fulfill the purpose that you have set for us, and grant that we may always work together with humanity and respect. Inspire us in our endeavor to find the right solutions to the problems that are affecting our fellow citizens. For the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of our country. Amen. Amen. Shanti. Yes, my brothers and sisters, let me welcome you tonight to True Talk Thursday. To all of you who are locked on the international web via our Facebook page. For those of you who are looking on, feel free to share this live. My name is Brian Big. I am one of the co-chairs for this evening. The other co-chair for this evening is the lovely Nabila Green, who will be joining us to introduce our other speakers. And we have a firebrand speakers. And like I said, we are True Talk Thursday. And everything here tonight is the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Let me start off by introducing our speakers. Our speakers tonight. I now welcome a firebrand councillor, a young man dedicated to his district, a man who is for the people. I now welcome Councillor for Komoto Tamina, Anil Dionaran Maraj.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that wonderful introduction. My political leader and leader of the opposition, Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa. My colleagues at the head table, MPs, senators, councillors, aldermen, as well my MP for Komoto Tamana, the Honorable Dr. Rai Rakbir, and also not forgetting the chairman of the Sandy Grande Regional Corporation, Mr. Anil Jutaram. The listening audience, the media, my UNC family, a pleasant good evening to one and all. My brothers and sisters, I am here tonight to report to you of the affairs concerning the agriculture sector in the region under the Sandy Grande Regional Corporation, which covers my electoral district. Agriculture and farming is one of the main sources of income in the Komoto-Manzanilla area. I would like to repeat that. Agriculture and farming is one of the main sources of income in the Komoto-Manzanilla area. However, farmers are faced with poor road conditions, poor drainage, and little or no support from the government. The farmers in my district come to me on numerous occasions and complain about the issues that they often face. One such issue is the lack of access roads for the farmers. Imagine we have a Minister of Agriculture, and I cannot recall the last time he has ever visited the region. Access roads are important to our farmers to be able to obtain their produce, and farmers are struggling to do so. Therefore, on behalf of the farmers of my district and extension, the region, I say to these non-performing Minister of Agriculture, please, sir, please take some time and listen to us and ensure that our farmers can have their access roads. My friends, another issue that I am here to report to you tonight is a very, very serious one. I speak of the predial larceny, which has plagued the region. I have met with many farmers and have heard their horror stories Stories such as farmers cannot be able to get a good night's sleep because of having to camping in their field during harvesting season to protect their crops. When we have ministers in their bed lying in a nice cozy bed at night when our farmers have to come out in the night and sleep in their fields. In so doing, they place their lives and those of their family as well, adding to the dangers of crime in the defense of their livelihood and investment. Therefore, the pre-larceny squad is needed, and I am calling for a permanent pre-larceny unit to be established either at the Sandy Grande Police Station or the Komoto Police Station. Tonight, I am calling on the Minister, Mr. Clarence Rambarat, to hear the cries and help the people for the forsaken areas. As I close, my colleagues and I will continue to fight for the peace, bread, and justice for the people. I pray for a better day, that one day we will be blessed to be under the governance of the United National Congress. Once again, thank you, and God bless the United National Congress, and God bless our nation. Long live the UNC, long live Kamla Persad Bissessar, and long live Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you. Good night.
I am so excited about today. I'm excited because the presenters, they are my friends, they are my family, they are persons who are big on service. And these are things that I appreciate so much. And you know, family East-West corridor, there's a different flavor. Today's Shoot Talk Thursday, let me speak. There's a different flavor from the East-West corridor, but the flavor gets more intense when it goes further to the end. So I'm speaking about persons from Toko Sangigani and Komoto Manzanala. We have some counselors, who are so big on service. They are so passionate about people. And I am so pleased and proud to be sitting here with these persons presenting tonight. Our next speaker is the alderman at the Sangigani Regional Corporation. He is Kian Sarup Singh. He is dedicated to the cause. He's willing to go out. He's passionate about everything that he's involved in. Tonight I welcome Mr. Kian Sarup Singh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, for that wonderful introduction. To my colleagues at the head table, good night. And to my political leader and best Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Ms. Kamla Persad Bissessar, Senior Counsel, a pleasant good night. My name is Kian Sarup Singh. I'm the alderman at the Sangigani Regional Corporation. My friends, a former Prime Minister said the future of the nation is in the book bag of our children. And the best Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Ms. Kamla Persad Bissessar, said the future are in the laptops that was given to the nation children by her during her time as Prime Minister. Now we have a government led by Keith Rowley that does not care about our children, especially in Toko Sanigandi and Komoto Manzanala. My friends, the children in my region are suffering due to lack of devices and connection to the internet. Imagine these children are now unable to perform their studies. And I and my colleagues have been having fundraisers to help families. And my brothers and sisters, it is so heart-wrenching to see these families suffer. My brothers and sisters, I also want to take this opportunity to thank the MP for Komoto Manzanala, the chairman of the Sangigani Regional Corporation, my UNC members, for assisting the schools in the constituency of Komoto Manzanala and Toko Sanigandi. My brothers, my friends, another matter, I wanted to let you know as the alderman, people come to me and one issue arise, many children have excelled and have asked why they have not awarded scholarship. My friend, this is a P&M style of discrimination. I said to this family, take action and to take action and to ensure that such discrimination never happens again. As I close, my colleagues and I will fight for peace, bread, and justice for the people. We are for the people, led by a great leader, Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and she will return as Prime Minister. Long live the UNC, long live Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and long live Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
Yes, my brothers and sisters, we're hitting hard. We're hitting some hard truths tonight. Imagine that. Discriminating our young children, the youths of our nation. This is not a government. This, I don't know what they are. But don't worry. Very soon, when the truth hits the people, they will soon cry out and say they want the return of Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the United National Congress. And I say a special good night to the best Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Coming to you is a gentleman, very hard-hitting, very well representing his area. He walks his area almost every day. He's a man who is truly a servant of the people. I speak none other than the man who ensured victory at the corporation for the region of Sangre Grande Northwest. I speak of the councillor for Sangre Grande Northwest. Let us all welcome the fighter, the firebrand, Mr. Nasser Hussain, councillor for Sangre Grande. Sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Sitaram, Namaste. Honorable Political Leader Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, members of NATEX, council members, folks on social media and television, a pleasant good evening to you all. You know, last night I sat down writing the speech, and the amount of problem and woes in this country, it took about 30 pages, my people. Why? There are too many woes and problems in this country. So I did a précis of my speech, because, you know, I have 7 minutes here, right? It gives me great pleasure to bring this report to you tonight. Therefore, I must thank my political leader for this opportunity to address you on the present situation at the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation. My delivery tonight, as the co-chairman said, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We in the Sangre Grande region can confess to feeling abandoned, hopeless, living in our darkest times. This P&M Rowley administration has proven to be the worst thing ever for our beloved country, Trinidad and Tobago. Tonight, with the limited time that I have in order to account to you, I would like to touch a little on employment, roads, and water. Generally, the Sangre Grande region is considered the poorest and most distressed region in all of Trinidad and Tobago. Let me start with a lack of opportunities for people, especially our youths, to find some form of employment. I know, walking the ground and meeting our people. I know of university graduates who are well-schooled and should be employed, okay? And since December 2020, at this time, there is no short-term employment for the needy in the electoral districts, in all 8 electoral districts. Imagine that. Poor people, tell me this thing. All right? You know, such as street cleaners and sanitation workers and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, being on the ground, I have seen families living on less than $50 per day, or none at all. Tears flowed in my eyes with this view. I'm very passionate about it. Look, my paws are raising at this time, people. Presently, this wicked, vindictive, uncaring, lying, and self-serving P&M government is withholding funds from the San Grande Regional Corporation because, why people, why? Because it is controlled by the UNC, you see? I mean, this is downright outrageous. So we have the regular terms used in financial terms, right? Such as allocation, releases, you know. So I would want to add one other term, suppression of funds. Imagine no money to provide the basic employment, 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, etc. Come on, people. This is our country. This is our money, right? Not the P&M government's money. It belongs to all taxpayers in Trinidad and Tobago. The poor and underprivileged are not being reached. We are sufferers according to Black Stalin. Sufferers in this region. Okay? I don't want to get angry because you all wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Ladies and gentlemen, in all the electoral districts, there is pipe-borne water, but taps are dry. In some areas, right, taps are dry. And yet people have to pay WASA bills. This is sad. In some cases, valves are not turned on. As I told you, I'm on the ground. And I can tell you, like, Hibiscus Drive in Babandi, right? Unity Street in Babandi, you know? And I'm sure it's happening all over the electoral districts. Good. But water trucking is done in all the electoral districts during the dry season for areas without pipe-borne water. Imagine one truck is serving San Grande Northwest and San Grande Northeast. In San Grande Northeast, there are areas such as Madhu Singh Drive, Babandi, parts of Blake Avenue Extension, and Picton Road Extension without pipe-borne water. So all these areas have to be served, including the same situation is in Kumoto, Manzanilla, Tamana, Fishing Pond, Valencia, Toko, you know, and so on, Plumita, right? Has anything changed? Yes, things have changed. For sure, under this incompetent bunch, it is now worse than ever. I am sure you all experience it out there. People on the World Wide Web, on national television, on Facebook, and so on. You are experiencing, I'm telling you, and I know you are feeling it out there. All right? You know, I would want to ask you all out there, for how long are we going to take this situation in this country? For how long? How long are you going to take it? You see? I hope you are taking note of the problems and the words that are affecting you all. Good? Now, since we are talking about water, you know, there are so many leaks in Trinidad and, well, I don't know much about Tobago. Right? Watson Duke will deal with that. So many leaks. Would you believe there's a leak for as much when I came into the council, 29 December 2019, and in February sometime, a leak has been there for 1 year. People in San Grande will attest to this fact. For 1 year, and it's still there in front of Unitrust Corporation. And there are many, many other leaks that I reported. Now, the most, I want people to know, the most a councillor can do is report the leak, and WASA will attend to it. Right? But while people are suffering for water in those areas without pipe-borne water, we have leaks all over the place. Right? I think there's some Chinese name leaking. So we'll have to talk about that later. But I don't want to, you know, exaggerate too much on this. But a little bit on roads. Can you think of having a born and bred Minister of Works and Transport from your region? Yes. Yet still, after 6 years, we have the worst roads throughout the entire region. Am I not correct? And by extension, all over Trinidad. Can you tell me why we have police officers and licensed officers? This person tickets left, right, and center for the most minor setbacks in our vehicles in Trinidad and Tobago. Those setbacks, I believe, to our vehicles are directly linked to our worst roads. All right? I'm sure you all are feeling also. Worst roads, yes. Anywhere in this world, I traveled on many, many islands, and I can tell you this. The Valencia to Toko highway is now an abandoned project. They have now realized that it is now feasible. It is not feasible, sorry, not feasible at this time. So they are now calling it the Road Enhancement Project. All right? Because they realize the amount of money they are going to spend there, it is not feasible at all. So I am saying right now, they have to get their act together. Of course, they have to, right? Now, the road enhancement project is something that they should have been done in the first place, right? In the first place, using, improving the present infrastructure, right? The same applies to other projects. Let's separate our wants from our needs. Let's separate our wants from our needs. With the money being spent on the Kubuto to Manzanilla Highway, the same funds could have been used to repair Tamana Roads, Beach Roads, Manzanilla Roads, and Kubuto Roads. All right? Well, oh gosh. I don't want to talk about, but I've just been given a sign there. Can you give me a 2 minutes, please, sir? All right. Potholes. Potholes. I don't want to talk about potholes. Would you believe I was given reports that, it is true. We are seeing people bathing in these potholes. Bathing in these potholes, people. Yeah? And somewhere in Tamana, they are doing tilapia farming in one of the potholes. People, as I said, I can go on and on and on. I therefore call on Rohan Sinanan to deliver the services. Yes, Rohan. If even the rest of the ministers do not care, you are from this forgotten zone, and you must find a way to alleviate the suffering of the people in this region. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the privilege, right, to represent the most neglected area. But with this PNM Rowley government, I've grown socially, mentally, and physically depressed. Right? You can see I'm looking a little depressed, right? The PNM has sacrificed this entire country on the altar of corruption. Are you fed up? Yes. I'm not hearing you. Are you fed up? Yes. Thank you. Okay. Now the PNM has been in power. The PNM has been in power up to this moment for more than 50 years. Come on, man. Come on. But yet the mantra is blame Kamla. Oh gosh, will you have heard now? Yeah? Folks, we need divine intervention. So we must return the honorable, the best prime minister that we ever had in this country, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, and the UNC. Long live our political leader, and long live the UNC and leader of the opposition, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa. I thank you.
Do you understand what I meant when I said there's a different flavor the further you go to the east-west corridor? Mr. Nassa, I understand why you fondly refer to yourself as the mayor for Sangre Grande. I now understand. You own that title from me. And for me alone, you still have the platform to speak on. I could have listened to you for another hour. Well done, Mr. Nassa, on highlighting the ills that Toko Sangre Grande is experiencing. And it's heart-wrenching to look at when you see how our people, especially in this region, they are suffering and neglected. Surprisingly, I was sitting in my office one day, and a PNM activist was there. Well, we share the same office. And a woman came in and she was talking about, you know how long we have water? I reckon I should watch them under the glasses, but I don't pay no attention to it. When the woman left, she said, Nabila, I'm a PNM, but I wasn't voting in your constituency. But you see, them are done with Jersey and the biggest red flag. Let them crush Balizia and drink it if there are no water. And she said, let them left foot, right foot through the potholes and get where they had to go because they don't care about nothing better. And for PNM activists to say this, I'm telling you, persons are awakening and they are recognizing how much we need change. They are recognizing that the hype for the election period was a waste of time, and Toko Sangre has been neglected for years. I wish you all had realized the dream that our political leader was pushing at that time, but unfortunately, however, we know that we need change. Our next speaker is a very dear friend of mine, a guy who is big on passion, on serving his constituency and his people. I remember during the campaign period, Calvin would be extremely annoyed if you don't want to speak to somebody and hear their concerns and understand their problems. And Nabila, don't make no promises you can't keep it. So I'm telling you, Sangre Grande South is so lucky. They're blessed to have somebody who wears his heart on his sleeve, who is big on service, and who is doing so well in his electoral district. I welcome Mr. Calvin Sicharan.
Thank you very much, my dear friend Nabila Green. Good evening, folks. Good evening to our esteemed political leader, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Good evening to our hard-working Member of Parliament, Dr. Rai Rakbil. Good evening to the most dedicated Chairman of Council, our very own Chairman Arnold Jotaram. Good evening, fellow councillors, aldermen, and to all listening via social media. Welcome to our True Talk Thursday platform, where we, the UNC, continues to bring you facts on the failures of this government. Brothers and sisters, this evening, as I stand here, willing to speak to you on many issues affecting my electoral district of Sangre Grande South, and by extension, the region of Sangre Grande, I can tell you about the deplorable road conditions in my electoral district. I can tell you about the lack of employment in my electoral district. I can go on and tell you about the amount of distress we are encountering in Sangre Grande as a region. My brothers and sisters, this evening I just want to divert a little from infrastructure and speak about something more sincere, more touching to the lives of people in Sangre Grande. My brothers and sisters, the region of Sangre Grande, I want to speak to you about the social needs and the social services for persons seeking assistance in the region of Sangre Grande. As a country today, social welfare needs to create more avenues, educating the vulnerable in our society about the amount of social assistance grants available to them, especially in the rural communities. And yes, Sangre Grande, the region of Sangre Grande, is made up of rural communities. Social services in our country continues to fail those who are well-deserving and in dire need of it. I say this because I witnessed firsthand the cries of the less fortunate families, victims of flooding, single parents, especially those who have special needs children, our senior citizens seeking medical attention, domestic violence victims, students seeking devices to have an education. And what about the COVID relief grants? Brothers and sisters, what happened to the COVID relief grants? All these things just stop. Brothers and sisters, the list can go on and on and on. Persons continue to reach out to us as counselors for assistance for simple things like information concerning the applications that was made some over 3 years, 4 years, going on 5 years. My friends, it must be considered that being less fortunate or having incapacities doesn't make you any less human. Neither must it consume your pride. Ministry of Social Development. In the region of Sangre Grande, there is a need for a first-class facilities for persons with challenges. We need our schools to be equipped with facilities and equipment for special needs children. Implement a program so that counselors can work closely with the Social Development Ministry, whereas counselors, us, we are always on the ground, meeting the people, having conversations with the people. My brothers and sisters, we have data so that persons seeking assistance, we will always be the first line to assist the Ministry of Social Development with our data collections. Brothers and sisters, even the occasional distributions of temporary food kits, too many times we witness the needy being left behind. We are counselors, we as counselors, again I reiterate, we always on the ground, so we know firsthand the families who are in really need of these assistance. My friends, our political leader, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, under her tenure as Prime Minister, introduced many grants to the Ministry of Social Development to assist and support single parents with special needs or special needs child or children. She introduced the Baby Milk Grant, the Children Life Funds, with more than 122 children getting assistance from this grant. What about the Children's Life Fund today? We're not hearing anything about the Children's Life Fund today. My brothers and sisters, I am sure we can collectively agree that those who require these services were in a better place than the ones requiring the same services now under our political leader, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar. My brothers and sisters, our political leader, her maternal instinct always existed for people in need and people who was suffering. She had no boundaries in delivering. She had no political affiliation for who needed assistance. My brothers and sisters, it had no race, no ethnicity. Our political leader delivered for all in need. Brothers and sisters, today, as councillor for the electoral district of San Grande, every week, sometimes every other day, someone walks into my office, I receive phone calls asking for assistance for a wheelchair, some kind of, sometimes even a food hamper, simple things like food to eat. People are in need of assistance. We need to hold this government, the Ministry of Social Development, accountable. You are there for a reason. Allow the people who need these services to get service in the proper way. These are the people challenged on a daily basis. My brothers and sisters, these people need assistance. My brothers and sisters, I know time is limited, and I assure you that conversations like these will continue, if not tonight, in the near future, because under the leadership of our political leader, there are many platforms we will be hearing more issues like these. My brothers and sisters, the UNC continues to work for you. The UNC continues to keep you informed on the incompetence of this soap opera government. My brothers and sisters, this is True Talk Thursday, your platform for information. Brothers and sisters, my name is Calvin Sichan. I am UNC and proud. I thank you.
Yes, my brothers and sisters, you hear talk? That is true talk here tonight. And you know, I agree with what Calvin has said, that people in this country are suffering. At my office, I see many people in the long lines in the hot sun, waiting at the Ministry of Social Development. And that is what is passing for governance. When we were in office under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, nobody had to do that, because we had the Ministry of the People, and people were being dealt with because we are people-centered. So that is true talk. And imagine from what I had to hear what NASA say. NASA talk about people with our tilapia farming. Under the People's Partnership, tilapia farmers was flourishing under the Seafood Industry Development Company. And I could tell you that as a former chairman of the SIDC, And that is because we know that UNC works for you. But with this government, you can't even get them to start something. So my brothers and sisters, we're going to keep it going. We're going to keep the True Talk going on True Talk Thursdays. I'm going to introduce to you a very hard-working gentleman, a very humble gentleman, a gentleman who always is on the ground. One thing I can say about the Sangre Grande councillors, they are always on the ground. And that is True Talk. My brothers and sisters, I want to welcome our Vice Chairman of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation. He's councillor for the Manzanilla Fishing Pond area. I now welcome to you Kenwin Phillip, the Vice Chairman of the corporation.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman of tonight's proceeding, for that wonderful introduction. Pleasant good evening to our political leader, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, our esteemed MP for Kumutu Manzalina, Dr. Rai Rakbir, Chairman of Council, members of Council, aldermen. To everyone tuning in, good evening. Welcome to our True Talk Thursday. Firstly, I want to thank our political leader for this opportunity, for this platform called True Talk Thursday. Tonight, as councillor for the electoral district of Manzalina Fishing Pond, it's my duty to report to you, the people of Sangre Grande, on some of the issues we are faced with within the council that affects you on a daily basis. Let me get straight into the details. As councillor, we continue to depend on central government for funding for the corporation. However, this remains a major challenge for us as we receive little or no funding monthly. It is with this incompetence of a central government that you, the people, remain suffering for simple functions of the corporation. I say this because this financial year, we experienced major cuts in fund. For example, under drainage and irrigation, cuts. Development of recreational facilities, cuts. Under the head local bridges and roads program, cuts. These are just a few of the major heads that were cut. We are now 6 months into this financial year. Under materials and supply, local health authority, we receive an allocation of $229,866, not 1 cent received. Under maintenance of vehicles, local health authority, not 1 cent received. And you know what is the funny thing about this? This is the public health department in the corporation we're talking about. And I have heard in the past the Minister of Local Government stated that he came from local government. And under material and supply, these is where we purchase PPE for our corporation workers, tools for our corporation workers. Sometimes we purchase no dumping signs. And our members will say, in the corporation, we got a lot of requests for no dumping signs. Under maintenance of vehicles, we maintain the corporation water tenders. And Councillor Nasser had told you one water tender to service 2 electoral districts. And this is where we are in the corporation. And we are 6 months into the financial year. My friends, as council members, sometimes we don't know when we answer the phone what to tell you when you call. because the song in the corporation is the road marches, no funding, no funding. Under all the head, no funding. Under maintenance of state traces, we receive an allocation of $462,317. That is a cut from last year. Last year, we had an allocation of $2.7 million under maintenance of traces. We get cut. We get an allocation of $460-something thousand. That is the allocation we had received. And we ensure to receive this funding. When you divide that money into the 8 electoral district, only $50-something thousand, one electoral district. And you go tell me what rules. Councillor Nasa talk about the pothole. Every day your phone ring and somebody telling you, Councillor, I want some material to fix the road. Councillor, I could get a box train. These are some of the challenges we as council members face in the corporation. It's our duty to stand here and explain to you, the population, some of the challenges we face. And it's your duty to understand. Because we are here in this country with a government that don't care about you and me. They care about their friends and family. It's a family government we have here. My friends, $57,000 per electoral district. I have roads, more roads than I don't even know the name of all them roads sometimes, because we have money to purchase sign poles and all. When you look at the condition of some of the roads, and I can name some: Kaiwal Road, 1st and 2nd, Fishing Pond Road, Limong Road, St. Isidore Road, Marquis Road. These are just a few of the roads. And as Councillor Nasa stated, the Minister of Works is from Sani Grande. He's from Sani Grande, and if you can't take care of your own, who you will take care of? My friends, my mother always teach me, if you can maintain what you have, don't go looking for more. We have roads that fall under the purview of Ministry of Works in the corporation, in the region. And they are building road left, right, and center, highways and byways. My advice to you, Mr. Minister, is fix what you have. Don't go looking for more. Under maintenance of vehicle, we receive an allocation of $445,142, not 1 cent received. And these are just some of the major heads I highlighted here. Chairman will talk about it more. He will go more in depth into it. But my friends, these are the heads that we as council members, it's allow us to deliver to our burgesses. And if you have a house, your husband have no work, but you want nice clothes and nice car, nice thing, and he don't have money to provide for you, how he could provide that for you? It comes just like us in the corporation. While we want to deliver all these things to you, if we don't have the funding, how can we deliver? My friends, just last week, Councillor Sicharan and myself went down with some of our burgesses to Bachak Singh Quarry in Tabakit. We work with the farmers and them and the communities so they could purchase the money and we could allow the corporation transportation to go for it. This is where we reach as a region, as a people. My friends, in order for you to expect change, you have to be that change. You can't do one thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. In order for you to get a different result, you have to take a different approach in doing things. And we have to stand together and send a message to the PNM that we are no carpet you can wipe your foot on we. These are the main heads that allow us to deliver to the people of Sani Grande. And again, I want to reiterate, these are the heads that allowed us as council members to deliver to our people. Under a UNC-led government by our political leader, these shortcomings never was an issue, as she and her government understood the importance of local government and what it means to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. My friends, as our political leaders say, we are the voice, and we can make the difference with the vote. People make mistakes, but fool me one time, fool me 2 times, fool me 3 times, then I dotish. So I'm saying to you, let us stand together, let us make that change. Long live our political leader, long live our great party. I thank you.
What an effusive speaker, Mr. Kenwin Phillip. And as you would have mentioned, the corporation, I have to put this in place. I have to say this, because as most will know, I'm a negotiator 1 at the National Union of Governments and Federated Workers. I try not to mix the 2 caps with politics and work, but I have to. I can tell you that the workers out there, they are perishing, no doubt. And maybe my heart is too big for this thing, but I'm always worried and concerned when we go out to look for workers. And you see corporation workers with a fork with 3 sponges, with a hose that is so depleted that it almost looks like a spade. Real archaic tools these workers have. You're seeing men down in drains with sneakers on because we have not been given PPE. And this government fails to meet with the union to discuss our workers' issues. I mean, the workers are the backbone of our nation. And when we see these things happening, you know, in a meeting that we went to recently to check some other workers outside of the corporation, one of them said to me, Ms. Green, you know how this government is. We can't really ask for what is rightfully ours because they may send us home. And this kind of autocratic leadership is not what we voted for. This is not what our country entails. We revel under the state of democracy. We can't be afraid to ask what is rightfully ours. So come on, this is what we deserve, and this is what we're supposed to get. And this bossy way that the government displays, where you feel like, I can't ask because they will send us home. No. I know this is UNC platform, but I'm telling you also that the union is also working for you under the esteemed leadership of Mr. James Lambert. And I want to encourage our workers to demand what is rightfully theirs. You know, and the cadres are depleted, as Mr. Phillip would have talked about the corporation. The cadres are depleting. We have gangs that once had 33 workers, now have 16. They're expected to do the same amount of work. We have persons going home, persons who may have passed away, and other reasons why workers are leaving the corporation. And we are unable to fill these cadres. I mean, it's hard to look at when you see these workers suffering as this. And I'm asking the government to do way better. And I'm also asking workers to demand more because you are deserving of it. I don't want to go too long on union business. And I want to introduce our next speaker, a man who wears several caps. He's a son of the soil in Toko Sangre Grande, a community activist, and you can check his page daily. He will keep you informed on what he is doing. He's a 4th generation Sangre Grande businessman, a former temporary UNC senator, He's the former president of the Sangre Grande Chamber of Commerce. And in 2016, he was the councillor for Vega de Oropouche, and he is now the chairman of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation. Mr. Anil Juturam is hardworking. Mr. Anil Juturam, just as the rest, as I would have said, is dedicated to his cause, ensuring that the lives of everyone that he encounters, he leaves it at a better place. I want to welcome Mr. Anil Juturam to the platform.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Ms. Nabila Green. Special good night to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Kamala Prasad-Bisasa, Senior Council Member of Parliament. Special good night to our General Secretary, Mr. Peter Kanhai, our Party Chairman, Mr. Dave Tanku, Deputy Political Leaders of the party, the hardworking team from NATEX, our campaign team, Let me acknowledge our esteemed Member of Parliament for Komoto Manzalina, Dr. Rai Ragbir. I'm seeing also Mr. Ravi Ratiram here. Members of my council and the Sangre Regional Corporation, let me acknowledge Vice Chairman Mr. Kenwin Phillip, Councillor Anil Maraj, Alderman Kian Sarup Singh, Councillor Calvin Sicharan, Alderman Susan Holder. A pleasant good night to the people of Vega de Oropuch, Sangre Grande Northwest, Sangre Grande Northeast, Sangre Grande South, Valencia East, Valencia West, Manzalina, Fishing Pond, Komoto Manzalina. Good night to the people at their homes and looking at us abroad. COVID or no COVID, we as local government practitioners have been placed here by the people to work and represent them. COVID or no COVID, people are collecting millions of dollars per annum from the taxpayers to collect rent from their buildings, and the only criteria used in obtaining these wealth is to recuse themselves from certain meetings. COVID or no COVID, companies that toe a certain line are strategically placing themselves to supply and distribute pharmaceuticals for COVID-19 vaccines, and are to be paid millions of dollars by the poor taxpayers of our country. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to show you, apparently, this sector of the population, with COVID, they are still reaping in millions of dollars. And one of the people that I'm seeing is about to get a distributorship and bring in the pharmaceuticals for the government of the day that the poor taxpayers would have to pay for, has been featured in the public newspaper. So that is no hidden news. It's a former person that was put to investigate the port of Trinidad under Miss Christine Sahade, when I believe there was a lot of firing taking place among board members. And a certain individual was called in to investigate what has transpired. What is ironic is that that same person is in the front line bidding to bring in the vaccines while our people are risking their lives, taking risk. We have not a vaccine to save a life yet, but these big boys, these big financiers, they are the one in the line to get the contract to bring in. It's how ironic. I'm not accusing anyone, but just connect the dots. So in comparison to the basic fundamental needs and what one would think is a priority for the basic man, woman, boy, and girls, not one on the list or the front burner by this government for the common people of the country. The priority are those that I called first. So why in all our region of Toko Sangre Grande and Komoto Manzalina that the level of equity, priority, and good treatment is not trickled down to our region from piece of the national pie? Money does not seem to be an issue by some to pay rich to make them wealthier. When will our depleted infrastructure, example drainage, retaining walls, recreation grounds, agriculture access roads, main roads, secondary roads in all our 8 electoral districts be given some priority for the poor people to live and drive in comfort? With roads that have no potholes. Mr. Rohan Senana, not everyone can afford to drive a Porsche or a Mercedes-Benz. Extra maintenance of vehicles are very costly for the poor people that we represent. Ministry of Works in Port of Spain head office has abandoned the Ministry of Works in Sangre Grande. Imagine no working backhoes, no trucks, no materials for minor repairs of their roads. For the past 9 months, the people of Fishing Pond have been complaining about a major landslide on the Fishing Pond Road. To this date, nothing has been done, and this is a matter of urgencies, as lives could be lost. This is not an attack on the Ministry of Works employees. in Sangre Grande, but the Ministry of Works head office in Port of Spain. Our people of Fleming Road, 1st and 2nd Kaiwall, these people are suffering from lack of maintenance of bridges, roads, drains. Imagine Ministry of Works roads. Grass at times can be seen growing from end to end. The Sangre Grande Regional Corporation has to network with other state agencies to beg in order to get some relief for these residents that the Ministry of Works and the minister has abandoned. The Sangre Grande Regional Corporation is stretching and spreading very thin our manpower, our limited resources, which we obtain from local government. What did the people do to deserve this neglect and abandonment, Mr. Rohan Sinanan, in your hometown? Whoever is in charge, please, I beg on behalf of the people, Ministry of Works, please repair some of these roads that I'm about to call. Limong, Housing Village, 4 Road Stamina, Komoto Main Road, St. Isidore Road, Mapa Farms, Manzalina Main Road, Eastern Main Road, Sangre Chiquito, Kunapo Southern Main Road, all the way to Bish, the Sangre Grande Main Road, Mela Road in Vega, and the Toko Main Road in Vega to Sangre Grande. I am pleading to the Honorable Minister of Works, kindly have a program to ease the flooding in all our major water courses through the length and breadth of Komoto Manzalina and Toko Sangre Grande. We are tired of seeing you doing site visits after the flood have passed and destroyed household, businesses, and farmers. Please do some flood preventative work so we won't have a repeat of the major flooding that had occurred in October 18, 2018. Our hard-working police officers of the Eastern Division, which consists of 9 police stations, Valencia, Sangre Grande, Matura, Toko, Matlat, Manzalina, Bish, Rio Claro, Mayaro. Imagine the Matlat police officers have been in a makeshift office, a container, for almost 20 years. And because of this unfortunate situation, no female officers can be on duty to assist women in that area because there apparently is no dormitory facilities for the females. Approximately for the past 15 years, Manzalina police posts have been in North Manzalina, isolated from the high-risk and busy areas that is more or less where most activities take place. Little or no emphasis or priority have been given from the Ministry of Finance to assist these critical concerns that more or less facilitate the illegal coring trade, illegal guns, narcotics, and for the past couple of years, illegal immigrants. I am kindly asking the Ministry of Finance to allocate more funding so that our police commissioner can reintroduce the marine branch of the police service. These coastal areas, I ask myself, if the Ministry of Finance is proud to give all these illegal activities a green light to continue their illegal trade. The Predial Larceny Unit, which falls under the Ministry of Agriculture, at times, what I've been told by officers, are being paid month-to-month contract, no security of job tenure. And at times, they have to also dip into their pockets, their own personal pockets, to purchase gas or diesel to respond to farmers and their plight. Is there a Ministry of Social Services in Trinidad and Tobago, people? In the streets, our main town in Sangre Grande, our town center, there are over 40 homeless people, and the number is growing daily. Among some of these are drug addicts, people that have a phobia for fire, at times setting fire close to residents' houses and businesses. And the citizens are calling on the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation to have them removed. This is not a function of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation. As chairman of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, I've written numerous letters way back as a councillor to the Ministry of Social Services to intervene in this problem, and no assistance is given to us. But the Ministry of Social Services, and if they require assistance for security in the execution of their duties, the TTPS and our municipal police can assist upon written requests from the said ministry. I am making a plea to the Ministry of Social Services, please recommence the grant that was introduced by a dear honorable political leader, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, to help the parents of the children with cerebral palsy, and to kindly have the grant for these children returned so that they can be maintained. This grant should have never been taken away. When you talk about gangsters, this is gangsterism. We, with the advent of COVID-19 and the downturn in the economy in Trinidad and Tobago, businesses are forced to close down, some operating by means of creating a shift system for their employees. Some businesses are giving their employees 2 days of employment for the week to help pay bills, buy medication, mortgages, bring food to the table. This is as a result of lack ideas and failed policies by this PNM government. This is as a result of the lack to stimulate our country and our region, thereby causing a trickle-down effect to further put household on the breadline, leaving the only hope for honest sustenance to families, and that is to vend along the main roadways, our main streets, our pavement. This is a sensitive and dear topic to me, and we have to work with these people so that we can bring some form of relief. I heard someone recently said that gangsters have MBAs and masters, but I want to let that person know we have vendors who are being forced to vend. They also have masters and MBA, but with the lack of vision by this vicious government, they have no turn than to turn to the streets and vend to feed their hungry children mouths and bellies. I will not always be an office holder, and I have to walk the streets and town of my region, and wherever I walk, there must be no one to say that under my watch as chairman of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, or under Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar's watch as leader of the UNC, we ever discriminated against any class, color, creed, or race, because those same people on the streets of Sangre Grande, when I'm out of office, if I may walk the road and fall down, God forbid, those might be the people to pick me up back on my feet. Long live the UNC. Long live our honorable political leader, Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Long live Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you all.
We thank you so much, Chairman Anil Jutaram, for such an excellent presentation delivered. We understand even more how much the amount of ills that Oko Sangre Grande, Kumoto Manzalan is experiencing. I mean, one platform may not be enough to even express. Our people, they are really neglected and in need of help. Our next speaker is the alderman at the corporation, Ms. Susan Holder. She is a dynamic and profound speaker. She is going to present on the topic of domestic violence, of which I am really passionate about. I'm so anxious to allow our persons who are listening to even invite other women to take in on this, because this is a common issue that we're experiencing in Trinidad and Tobago. And being a survivor of such, I am quite enthused and interested to hear the presentation of the alderman at the corporation, Madam Susan Holder, this evening. We thank you.
A pleasant good afternoon to the Honorable Political Leader, Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and by extension, Trinidad and Tobago, our General Secretary, and all other council members from the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, our Chairman, Mr. Anil Jutaram, our MP for Kumoto Manzanilla, Mr. Rai Ragbir, it's my pleasure this evening to stand and address you on domestic violence, as we celebrated International Women's Day recently. Domestic violence is the leading cause of injury among women, more than car accident and rapes combined. It is reported that more than 15 million children are abused every year. To me, this is a problem. Serious action means something is being done in response to the situation. However, action stands for the fact or process of doing something typically to achieve an aim. Statistics shows that men who as children who witness domestic violence are twice times more likely to abuse their wives and 50% more likely to be in an abusive relationship as women. Onlookers mostly ask this situation, why does they stay? They do not believe that they are abused. They are made to believe they cause it. They are too afraid, yet you still ask, why do they stay? It is extremely dangerous to leave an abuser, because the final step in a domestic violence pattern is to kill her. Over 70% of domestic violence murders happen after the victim ended the relationship, after she has gotten out, because the abuser has nothing left to lose. And we still ask, why doesn't she leave? We tend to stereotype victim as self-destructive women or damaged goods. The question is, why does she stay? It's code for some people, for it is her fault for staying. As if victims choose to fall in love with a man whose intention is to destroy them. Maybe the better question is, why does the abuser do it? Instead of blaming the victim, let's turn our attention to who is causing the harm. As a society, we can no longer stand and let this cycle continue. We have to find a way to break it. I would love to say it starts at home, but that is where the abuse is. So the schools have to take a larger role in this problem. We teach our children maths and English, but how about relationship and life skill? Our schools need to help educate our children that violence would not be tolerated. If we want to attack this person, we need to teach our citizens how to be respectful in relationships and other aspects of life. We need to do more to decrease the abuse that happen, not just physically, but all forms of abuse, such as verbal abuse, mental, and financial abuse. Maybe you are thinking, whoa, this is fascinating. But this whole time I have been talking to you about domestic violence. There have been 24 victims a minute beaten. A woman or child has since died. I promise you, there are several of you listening to me right now who are currently being abused or know someone who is being abused, or maybe were abused as a child, or are the abuser. Abuse could be affecting your sister or friend right now. So what are you going to do? Domestic violence strive when we are silent. But if we take a stand and work together, we can end domestic violence. We can end it by telling our friends and family that we will not tolerate domestic violence, and by asking them to take a stand with us, and ensuring that our communities hold abusers accountable to their actions. On the other hand, I personally don't believe that the government does enough to protect domestic abuse victims. We need more shelters with better amenities. I know for a fact of people who went to these shelters and had to leave with their families with no knowledge of where they would be spending the night or the rest of their life. When women make report, it should be taken seriously. They need to set up training programs to take them further other than CPEP and URP, where they can become self-employed and self-reliant. I can go on and on, but time is a factor. Long live our political leader, long live the United National Congress.
Thank you very much, Alderman Holder. You were very edifying by bringing a very serious topic to light. And I'm sure many of us has taken every word you have said, and we are truly edified tonight. My brothers and sisters, as we continue, that is what True Talk is about. That is what we, the UNC, is about, is bringing True Talk to you. I agree with Alderman Holder that there are many projects that are not being put in place to help our women. Under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, she ensured that these projects were done. But as usual, you have a non-caring PNM Rowley-led government. And that is True Talk. My friends, I now want to introduce to you a gentleman who has given human service to mankind. This is a man who ensures that the well-being and the health of persons is taken serious. I want to tell you that between the years of 2010 to 2015, he would have served as chairman of the CISL board. He would have also served on the Environmental Management Agency, the EMA. He's a former member of the National Executive, where he served in the positions as deputy political leader, but also as treasurer. In 2020, Dr. Rai Ragbir beat the PNM 3-1 as the UNC candidate in Komoto Manzanilla. He is always on the ground. He meets persons. He meets his constituents. He even renders health advice to his constituents. He goes everywhere with that stethoscope because he ensures, he always says, health must come first. Ladies and gentlemen, join with me in welcoming the Member of Parliament for Komoto Manzanilla, Dr. Rai Ragbir.
Good evening, one and all. To the chairpersons, Nabila Green and Mr. Brian Big, political leader of the United National Congress, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, fellow colleagues of Parliament, senators, councillors, and chairman of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, executive members of the UNC, distinguished members of the listening and viewing audience. First of all, I am delighted to be the first MP to grace the UNC True Talk platform. I must say, it sounds like an app or maybe a jingle. Very catchy, and I congratulate the producers of such. Before I start, I want to give you all some good news. An article was submitted to the media on Sunday. It was printed in The Guardian on the 15th of March, titled, MP Wants Government to Engage Stakeholders to Protect Leatherback Turtles. That was me. The man again, yes, the COVID man again, Diyal Singh, said he would not be granting groups any permits to patrol the beaches between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. so that these turtle nesting sites could be monitored against poachers. However, my friends, the pressure groups, together with the Environmental Management Authority, they made remarks that they had to rescind. And my friends, today, success was met. The decision has been overturned, and now persons will be able to get permits, practice COVID rules, and monitor the nesting sites of our leatherback turtles, which are endangered species and an environmentally sensitive species as well. You know that man Diyal Singh, his name always seems to pop up with wrong decisions. And I'm still trying to wrap my brain around the idea. These are people who volunteer themselves, small groups, they have mass, they're in the night, they're in the beach, wind blowing. So how is it they're going to get COVID? How is it they're going to spread coronavirus? And you know, if we didn't do this, the poachers will have a field day because they do not practice any COVID guidelines. Anyway, my friends, the victory is to our endangered species, the turtles. So, my friends, as I start today, it is a distinct honor and pleasure to address you tonight as we call this administration, this PNM government, to account for its stewardship. Into its 6th year in office, as I can tell you, that the social and economic landscape of this country, as we all know here, has been scarred by the actions, the inactions, the mismanagement, the blatant corruption, nepotism, the undermining of the country's democracy in and out of parliament. This PNM administration has interfered with citizens' fundamental rights and freedoms as laid in the country's constitution. Almost every piece of legislation and amendment that comes before Parliament is skillfully and deceitfully manipulated so it gets passage through what is called a simple majority. The most recent, friends, glaring and deceptive piece of legislation to fall prey to such dishonesty in the amendment to the Procurement Act. In short, it means, my friends, that you as tax-paying citizens of Trinidad and Tobago must not ask questions and be told how the government is acquiring goods and services on your behalf. They must do so without scrutiny, without being accountable, without being transparent, and they must use your money to purchase what they want, when they want, and how they want. But you know what? Our political leader, she will stand up, and she's doing that. Tonight, I want to warn the population of this country that you are not being told the truth, or the whole truth about this government, about the hesitancy to acquire the COVID-19 vaccines, which I will get into. So we are being governed in a disguised form of democracy. It is more of a dictatorial than democratic. Ask no questions. Let's take a look at the astronomical prices since they came into office in 2015 to now. Our groceries, fuel prices, building material, medications, farm and agricultural products, raw material for manufacturing sector, just to name a few. And when the official opposition asked in Parliament to tell the population, what have you been doing with the money that has been drawn from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund? The dismissive, the frivolous, and facetious response from the government, well, it goes into the consolidated fund. My friends, there are rules and regulations governing the withdrawal of funds from the HSF, but these rules are thrown by the wayside. So the scarring of the social and economic landscape of this country continues unabated under this government. And the declines that have been witnessed in every sector did not begin 1 year ago when the country became gripped in the clutches of a global pandemic, but started immediately when they entered office in 2015. 6 years ago, my friends. We have seen massive retrenchment, both in the public and private sectors, including underemployment. We all know of someone who have had to accept work that does not make full use of their skills and abilities, resulting in reduced remuneration, astronomical increase in the cost of living, the absence of a domestic buyer's market. We have seen the economy move from vibrancy to sluggish, now on a downward trend. Cutbacks in education and social services, a dilapidated road network, that's what my colleagues have said prior, which is an essential component in the cost-effective distribution of goods and services. Today, all that I have mentioned before is even more frightening, worse with this global pandemic engulfed this country. So we are here today on the brink of what could be described as a failed state, ladies and gentlemen. The country's leadership has failed to inspire confidence in the country's most critical and vital asset, and that is human resource. Ladies and gentlemen, a nation without effective leadership is a nation with poor governance. So that in the midst of the global pandemic, this country's leadership have not been able to find the correct mechanisms for managing the virus, while at the same time keeping our social and economic climate vulnerable and inoperable. So, my friends, today, and I want you to listen to this carefully, this country would not have had a single person vaccinated against COVID-19 were it not for the humanitarian and generous efforts of the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, for whom we are eternally grateful. You imagine that? We are actually last in the Caribbean, in Latin and Central America, and in the world. Not one person would have been immunized. I'm sending a clear message to this PNM administration that the country's future, its economy, and people is in grave danger if herd immunity against the COVID-19 virus is not achieved in the shortest possible time. So you keep hearing this word, herd immunity, and I'll tell you as a physician what it means. It means indirect protection from an infectious disease that happens when a population is either vaccinated or immunity is developed through prior infection. At this time, I believe for Trinidad and Tobago, the government needs to step aside and allow the medical fraternity to implement the systems and procedures of acquiring and administering the vaccine. So I call on the Chief Medical Officer of the Ministry of Health. I call on all the senior doctors, all the pharmacists who work in the Ministry of Health to stand up and be counted and force the government hand to procure the vaccine. COVID is not only for Trinidad and Tobago, not only for the Caribbean, not only for the Americas, but for the whole world. Poor and rich nations face the same dilemma, my friends. That is, to vaccinate its people in the shortest possible time. The echoes of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health says, we are waiting on World Health Organization approval. So that's WHO, before getting the vaccines. That is their mantra, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we have been doing. Today is the 18th of March, and we're still waiting. And it's clearly evident when you see that all our Caribbean neighbors, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, that's the quantum all on the Leeward Islands, all the other CARICOM countries, they have been immunizing the people against COVID-19. And they have also accessed free vaccines, and they have also placed orders. Let's look at the timeline. On February 15th, the day after Valentine, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine was approved by the World Health Organization. Dominica soon received 70,000 vaccines, and Barbados received 100,000 vaccines. That was before the approval. So you had the Prime Minister of Dominica, you had the Prime Minister of Barbados. They worked together to engage fruitful discussions with India to get these vaccines. Oh my gosh, the Prime Minister of Barbados, she was so generous to give other Caribbean countries vaccines from what she had. And to date, my friends, I tell you, I think the amount of vaccines for people in Barbados reached the amount of 52,000 persons received that vaccines. And that was really generous of her. Now, here's the thing. Our government is saying that the WHO has to approve these vaccines. So how it is our CARICOM neighbors got the vaccines that was not yet approved? Their respective health authorities approve the vaccines. And I have here a document, and 3 countries I'm going to say actually: Guyana, Jamaica, and Barbados. Now, in these countries, they operate in a 3-tier system. So the first tier, approval of vaccines. So you have the government, analysts, Food and Drug Administration, basically the Ministry of Health, where they use stringent regulatory authorities that has been given about the vaccines. They read about it and whatnot and see what approvals and what are the trials, etc. The second method that they look at is from approval from WHO. And remember what he said, for Trinidad and Tobago is only WHO. Right. The third method they use for approving vaccines is whether they have been approved by large countries in the region. Large countries in the region. Jamaica is the same thing. I was reading for Guyana. And in Barbados, the vaccination committee to advise government. I'll repeat that. The vaccination committee to advise government. Well, what's happening here in this country? Who's advising the government? And that's what we need to ask. It's supposed to be the health professionals. When in America, when Donald Trump was the president, he had Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is the director of allergy and infectious disease, who was a forerunner. Now it's Biden, who is the president, and he's still there. And together with the CDC director, the new one, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, they are actually making decisions and guiding the people for the United States. And the same will happen to United Kingdom. The same thing is happening to Canada and other first world countries. So my friends, we're going backwards. We let the government decide what is best for us. And I'll tell you why that is bad now. And I'll come to it. Do you know the same health authority in Guyana, initially they approved 80,000 vaccines from AstraZeneca, 80,000 vaccines, which they have, 20,000 vaccines from Sinopharm. Sinopharm is from China, and it has an effectivity about 90%. But here is the thing. It has not being approved by WHO. Yet the people of Guyana are getting their vaccine. But here's a curious thing. Flight number BW607, flight from Toronto to Chedijigan Airport, took that 20,000 vaccines from Toronto to Guyana. Isn't that strange, our airline doing that? I'm happy for the airline so they can make some more money. Bharat Biotech, that's in Hyderabad in India. They deal with Covaxin. They have ordered, Guyanese government have ordered 400,000 doses of vaccine. They have also ordered Sputnik 5, that's a Russian vaccine. 200,000 doses of vaccine, and it was in the papers this week that they are due to receive a shipment of this particular vaccine. Just to let you know, this is an adenovirus vaccine. So all the science behind these vaccines, nobody is waiting in WHO. It's a combination. That's why I say it's a tier system. So what are the people of Trinidad and Tobago waiting for? They're looking at the government. But who is the government getting direction from for this? And it's strange that on Tuesday, our leaders for this government had a teleconference with China to source vaccine. And the other vaccine that China has is Sinovac, S-I-N-O-V-A-C. However, the effectiveness of that particular vaccine is only 50.2%, as opposed to the Sinopharm, which is superior. But many of us will recall, and if you go back into the media, that D.L. Singh was saying that Sinopharm would be one of the vaccines from the onset. But again, it's a waiting game. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they have also been using the Sputnik 5 vaccine. Now, many people, when they hear about Sputnik 5, they're thinking Russian vaccine. Yes, it's a Russian vaccine. It's also made in India, Brazil, and recently in the European Union. Italy is due to make from July. And what is amazing, the amount of orders for the Sputnik 5 is 1.5 billion doses of vaccine. Jamaica is considering ordering these vaccine because it's made at Dr. Reddy's lab in Hyderabad, India as well. But let's look at the one that started off in the Americas. In United States, you have Pfizer and you have Moderna vaccine. And now you have the single dose Johnson & Johnson. The amount of persons that want these vaccines, they cannot supply all the countries in the world. And they have said 2022 is the earliest that they may be able to get. So, to quote now, what are these countries going to do? They have to wait. So now we have the COVAX facility, which was said that we paid money for. But let's look at the COVAX facility. Where are they getting vaccine from? COVAX facility, they do not make vaccines. Now they have to go cap in hand and ask countries, I need to get vaccines for the low income and middle income countries. That's why it's taking so long. But I want to address a statement from PAHO Director, Dr. Carissa Etienne, who was in the media today. She said countries that have signed on the COVAX facility are free and they are encouraged to make their own bilateral agreements in procuring COVID vaccines for the people. But look, our Caribbean leader, that's what they have done. And what are we doing? Nothing, ladies and gentlemen. I clearly remember during one of the media briefing when the Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, telling D.L. Singh he want to hear from a doctor. You remember that? That man always open up his mouth for one way or the other. So the question now we all need to answer. While all these Caribbean countries got vaccines from India, what happened to us? Why we did not get vaccines from the Serum Institute of India? But I'll tell you something. The Serum Institute of India, right, is the largest vaccine manufacturer on the planet. In fact, it is said and you can research it. 65% of children who have obtained vaccine throughout the world, at least one of the vaccines may have emanated origin from Serum Institute of India. They're so big. So, having said that, why we did not engage the Serum Institute of India like the other countries? And the same will say for the African platform. Africa does not produce vaccine. But the African platform is a way to access vaccines. But I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It's good and it can work. But if the population of the African Union, which encompasses about 55 countries, and the population is about 1.5 billion people, how now you can take the vaccines from the continent of Africa and give it to the Caribbean? I have a little problem with that, because the world is short of vaccines. And not even the Serum Institute of India. You have other vaccine manufacturers in the world. Why we in Trinidad did not reach out to these people? But now it's too late, because thankfully we have a beautiful lady called Kamala Prasad Bisesa, who wrote to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi to ask for vaccines, and I repeat, to ask for vaccines for all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It was a request of love, generosity, and thankfulness. That, my friends, that is a hallmark of a true leader, one who cares. And as I said, on Tuesday, they had a meeting with China. If you go on the news, you'll see as well, on the same Tuesday this week, the premier for China also had a teleconference with the Guyanese population as well, Dr. Irfan Ali. So it's part of the ongoing thing. We need more Sinopharm vaccine, and more Sinovac vaccine needs to come into the country. So my friends, I want to show you something here. I come like the political leader with all these newspaper clipping now. Right, here it is now. This here is the Guardian opinion, Monday, March 15. And if you will permit me, let me just share something here with you. Minister Diyal Singh says the country will only receive 33,600 doses, less than a third of the 100,800 quota it should have in the first batch of vaccine from the COVAX facility. It is hoped another 67,000 vaccines will be delivered by April or May. Should the vaccines arrive based on these timelines, Prime Minister Rowley hopes there will be a major vaccination drive during July, August. You notice these are just general days. This is the editorial here. What is said, this, however, also means the country will be nowhere close to achieving the herd immunity necessary to protect all citizens before the year is out. What is more disturbing is that other Caribbean countries, including Barbados, Jamaica, and Guyana, have used more thrift, and here it is, initiative in acquiring vaccine from other sources, and will be well on their way in the process, while Trinidad and Tobago is still scampering for its shipments. How embarrassing. So, while we wait for vaccine, here's a couple of issues many people haven't thought about it. One, antibody consideration. Antibody consideration. Two, the rollout plan for vaccination. So I'll start with the latter. That concerns public education. First thing people are asking, do I need to get the vaccine? Why should I get the vaccine? So you know what? That is public information, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm not seeing any health promotion emanating from the Ministry of Health. I'm not seeing anything in the television. I'm not hearing radio ads about why you should take the vaccine. I'm sure you're all not seeing or hearing anything. So there has been no active engagement of private doctors, the clinics, the dentists, the pharmacists, etc. So while we're waiting, nothing is happening. You could feel a sense in the country. You want to hear something funny? As far as I know, and no policy guidelines, if our family and friends have to return to Trinidad for one reason or the other, and they get the COVID vaccine and they have the documentation, do you know they still need to be quarantined for the 14 days? They still need to be quarantined. You know, somebody would come up and say, listen, here what? Instead of going to a private or a public state, a facility for 7 days, if you want, get the 14 days home quarantine. But no, we leave everything to work by chance. Imagine Little Grenada in the newspaper today, 8,000 people got vaccines in 1 month. So I will go to the former, which is the antibody consideration. Every one of us knows that the flu shots is given annually, every year. So what that means, my friends, is that your antibodies, when you get these shots, the antibodies form in your system and there's a lifespan. And as you approach your 12 months, the amount of antibodies reduce. So here what? The coronavirus vaccine throughout the planet, it's new. It is new. So what does that mean? So far, all the research data is showing that the antibodies may last between 6 to 8 months. So remember, a lot of research is being done. So what that means is that, as we say, by fall, later on in the year, that countries that already started vaccination and they finish, they will need to restart a new cycle. So if you have bought vaccine or you got donated, at least you're in already, hopefully. So you see what's happening now? This thing is new to the entire world. It's new to scientists. And now, as I say that, you're hearing, you're seeing on social media, and all the news, you're hearing about the same AstraZeneca vaccine we are supposed to get from Serum Institute of India. Many countries in Europe do not want to take the vaccines because they are seeing more clots in people. So we call it thromboembolic events. Now, all the research and data has shown that it is less than if you did not get the vaccine. So it's only because you're more aware of what the possible adverse effects. So actually today, in the media, the EMA, which is a European Medical Agency, declared the benefits outweigh the risks, and now the European countries, they have started to take the vaccines. But my friends, I want to share something with you. Right now, in the whole of Europe, is on a lockdown. Most of the European countries. Why? They have been inundated with a surge. It's a third wave. And that is predominantly because of the B117 variant strain. That is a UK strain. So everything is shut down in most of those European countries. So that means if you have to leave your house, you have to just go, come back, and do what you have. But you must have good cause. The reason that is happening is because the European Union have been very, very sluggish in administering the COVID vaccine. But thankfully today, they could start back vaccinating the vulnerable population in the European nations. Now, here is a next spin as well. I have a document here. And this document says, countries now scrambling for COVID-19 vaccine may soon have surpluses to donate. And permit me just to read this. These are basically 11 countries alone could have COVID-19 vaccines to immunize, and listen to this, 2.9 billion people beyond their own populations. And countries like Canada, I'll just give you it in millions in terms of extra doses, 188. United States, 1.49 billion. Italy 193 million, United Kingdom 218, and I could go down the list. So, you know, COVAX would go to these countries. Hey guys, you have extra vaccine. Can I get some extra vaccine? But listen, what about us? What about something called diplomacy, which did not happen when they wanted to get vaccine from India? That's what you need to do. Get to these countries and plead your case to get vaccines. But we have another spin in the pit here. This is from New York Times. The United States is sitting on tens of millions of vaccine the world needs. United States Federal Drug Agency has not approved the AstraZeneca vaccine as yet. And actually they have about 30 million doses currently in Westchester, Ohio. And I think Mexico and Canada may get some of these vaccines. So what happened to little Trinidad? So the science behind this is that we have the Ministry of Health that falls under the Minister Diyal Singh. You have the doctors there, you have the government there. And while we twiddle our thumbs waiting for vaccines, there are ways we can get vaccines. And I'm sure now that I've enlightened you that there are things that we can do now to pressure the government to make sure they do what they're supposed to do. You know, every day that we don't do anything with our people is that it's sad. More people get sick and more people die. I feel really honored to hear Sir Vivian Richards, former captain of the West Indies cricket team, then Sir Richie Richardson, Jimmy Adams from Jamaica, and Ramnare Saram from Guyana, where they're thanking India for the vaccine. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I tell you, this government is sleeping. And by the way, tomorrow is World Sleep Day. So in Parliament, I might be sleeping. And my final thing here, right, so many papers. My final thing here, without a sustained vaccination program, the country will be subjected to continuous sporadic shutdowns, resulting in major economic challenges. The longer this country takes to vaccinate its population, the longer it would take for the country's border to be reopened, and therefore the risk of being isolated presents a real possibility. I thank the frontline healthcare workers for the incredible work and resilience in taking care of our nation people. They risk their own lives and to ensure we set the best treatment. I know not all heroes wear capes, but in this case, you wear scrubs. God bless us. God bless our political leader. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
The MP for Komoto Manzanilla, Dr. Rai Ragbir. I'm always interested to hear your presentations as you are so literate and well informed on the projections of COVID. I think the Minister of Health should schedule a meeting with you to get more details on this topic. But collectively, we want to say thank you to our political leader, who is highly prolific and executing a perfect acumen for choosing those who represent her. We want to thank all those who have made this program possible. As I mentioned, my co-chair, Mr. Brian Big, is quite buoyant. I like chairing with you. Councillor Anil Maraj, who is rightfully the chairman of the Markets and Vending Committee. And I want you to know, sir, that your comrades stand in solidarity with you. Alderman Kian Surup Singh, who will have elaborated on the importance of education and getting it right. Councillor Nassar Hussain, who we fondly call the Mayor of Sangre Grande, for such an excellent deliberation mixed with humor. So we thank you. Councillor Kenman Philip, who would have discussed the cuts in funding on things that are quite imperative. Chairman Anil Jutaram, who would have also expounded on the lack of resources granted to the Sangre Grande Corporation. Alderman Susan Holder for such an informative deliberation on domestic violence. I know I would have heard the Alderman mention that no woman will decide or see a man and decide, I'm going with him and he's going to destroy my life. It's quite ironic that our Prime Minister would have warned us to choose him, choose wisely the person we go with. Like, how will we know though? And in conclusion, we want to remind you that on Saturday at 7 p.m., we're at our Approach West for Why Repeal the Procurement Amendment Act 2021. We want to thank all our listeners. Please invite your friends and tell your friends to invite your friends for another informative display from the United National Congress. Thank you for taking in True Talk.